In every age, wealth is not merely gold or silver, it is power disguised in numbers. And yet, most men remain poor, not because they lack effort, but because they play the game of money like peasants at a royal chessboard, predictable, emotional, and easily cornered. Today, I shall teach you the 10 ruthless rules of wealth, not the fantasies of merchants or moralists, but the principles used by princes, bankers, and the cunning minds who never bow to fortune. If you feel trapped in endless struggle, working hard but gaining nothing, this lesson is your mirror, for the problem we solve today is not how to make money, but how to stop being the kind of person who stays broke forever. The greatest illusion that keeps men broke is the belief that money rewards goodness. They believe that virtue attracts wealth, that honesty, humility, and patience will somehow unlock prosperity. But I, Niccolò Machiavelli, have lived long enough to see that the world does not operate on goodness. It operates on power. And the sooner you understand this, the sooner you stop living like a pawn in a game built by those who control the board. A poor man believes his morality will protect him, that being a good person will earn him a place at the table. Yet, when the feast begins, he finds himself serving food to those who never cared for virtue. Why? Because those who rise understand something simple. Wealth does not follow goodness, it follows strategy. To remain poor is to mistake kindness for strength. You give freely, you forgive quickly, you trust easily, and then you wonder why the world devours you. The rich, on the other hand, understand that emotion is weakness when left uncontrolled. They use virtue as a mask, not a master. They know that appearing righteous is more profitable than being righteous, and that is where the first rule of wealth begins. Separate your morality from your ambition. You do not need to abandon your values, but you must stop letting those values chain your power. The man who hesitates to act because he fears judgment will always serve the man who acts despite it. Every empire, every dynasty, every fortune was built by those who chose results over reputation. Look around you. The merchants, the leaders, the powerful families. Their wealth did not come from hard work alone. It came from control, from understanding where value moves and how to command it. They learned that power is not granted, it is taken strategically and relentlessly. The masses worship fairness. They wait for justice, for equality, for recognition. But life is not fair. Life rewards those who adapt, who play to win rather than play to be liked. When a man builds wealth, he is not rewarded for his goodness, but for his usefulness to power. The moment you understand this, you begin to move differently. You stop chasing approval. You stop apologizing for wanting more. You stop begging for permission to succeed. Wealth is not built in the light of morality. It is built in the shadows of decision. The emotional man wants to feel good. The strategic man wants to control outcomes. The emotional man seeks fairness. The strategic man seeks leverage. And when these two meet, it is always the emotional one who serves the other's ambition. You stay broke because your decisions are governed by fear. Fear of being judged, of being disliked, of being seen as ruthless. But the truth is, no one remembers the gentleman who played by the rules. They remember the one who mastered them. If you want to rise, you must understand that morality belongs to the powerless. Strategy belongs to those who rule. Every coin in circulation belongs to someone who understood how to move without asking for approval. The ones who dare to look beyond right and wrong begin to see the map of influence hidden beneath the surface of society. The one who builds wealth knows when to be good and when to be cunning, when to extend a hand and when to hide the blade behind it. The difference between a man who survives and a man who commands is not effort, it is perspective. One obeys the law of virtue, the other rewrites it in his favor. And until you learn to think like the latter, you will keep playing the game without realizing you were never meant to win. Most men believe money comes from working harder, longer hours, more effort, more sweat. They believe that labor itself is the path to wealth. But labor is the path to survival, not dominance. The rich know this truth well. Control the flow of value, not the appearance of labor. The poor chase work. The powerful control the system in which work happens. You will notice that those who shout the loudest about hard work are rarely the ones in command. They are the ones being commanded. They believe their discipline alone will free them, yet they never question why the man above them earns more for doing less. It is because wealth is not measured by what you do, it is measured by what you control. A blacksmith may forge swords from dawn to dusk, but the man who owns the forge, who controls the iron, the trade routes and the buyers, earns the gold. The blacksmith sweats, the owner calculates. The world rewards the one who shapes the system, not the one who feeds it. Do you see the pattern? The man who works for money always depends on another man's permission to earn it. The man who controls the flow of value dictates what that permission is worth. To remain broke is to remain inside someone else's structure, someone else's machine. To become rich is to design the machine yourself. The poor often mistake visibility for success. They want to be seen working hard, seen being loyal, seen as deserving. But the powerful prefer to be unseen, quietly arranging the exchanges that decide who wins and who starves. They do not chase recognition, they chase control. They do not seek approval, they seek leverage. You can always tell who truly understands wealth by where they place their focus. The poor focus on effort, the rich focus on flow. The poor say, I worked 10 hours today. The rich say, my system earned while I slept. The poor think wealth is the reward for struggle. The rich know wealth is the reward for structure. Every great fortune in history was built by one principle: control what others depend on. The Florentine bankers of my time did not toil in fields. They controlled the channels of trade, the movement of gold between cities, and the rules by which loans were granted. The princes, the merchants, even the soldiers bowed to them. They didn't own the land or the labor. They owned the flow of value that passed through both. When you spend your life trading time for money, you sell your freedom at a discount. But when you design a system that multiplies value without your constant presence, you begin to buy time itself. That is what separates the worker from the strategist. One fights exhaustion, the other commands momentum. This is why the poor remain trapped. They think in hours and effort, while the powerful think in systems and networks. The worker says, how can I earn more? The strategist says, how can I make others depend on my structure to earn? If you wish to rise, stop asking how to work harder and start asking how to own what others work for. Stop chasing the appearance of effort, the sweat, the struggle, the endless proof of worth, and learn to master the invisible lines that move value from one hand to another. Those who stay broke confuse motion with progress. They keep running inside a wheel, while the rich stand outside it, deciding who turns it and for how long. The true power lies not in labor itself, but in understanding who profits from that labor and positioning yourself to be that person every time. The desperate man chases wealth the way a starving dog chases meat, frantically, visibly, without strategy. He moves with hunger, not intention. And the more he chases, the more the prize eludes him. You see, wealth is not something to be pursued. It is something to be pulled toward you through power, perception, and position. The poor chase opportunity. The powerful position themselves so that opportunity must pass through them. There is a vast difference between running after money and standing where money naturally flows. The weak man believes he must beg for a chance, apply for approval, wait for luck. The strong man builds himself into a magnet, one that draws fortune without asking for permission. The truth is, chasing wealth reveals your lack of control. It exposes your need. And need is the scent that predators of power can smell from miles away. When you chase, you declare dependency. You announce to the world that others have what you need. But when you position yourself strategically, when you make your value indispensable, wealth begins to circle around you like planets around the sun. The rulers of Florence never chased business. Business came to them. Why? Because they positioned themselves as the gatekeepers of trade, the facilitators of influence, the ones who decided which roads remained open and which doors stayed locked. The same principle applies to your own life. If you must chase money, it means you have not yet built the kind of presence that commands it. The poor man markets his effort. The powerful man markets his importance. One says, "I can do this job." The other says, "Without me, the system slows." You must understand that people do not pay for your time, they pay for what happens when you're involved. That is positioning. When you are positioned correctly, your absence costs more than your presence. That is how power operates. You become the unseen hinge that the door of value swings on. The kings, the merchants, the nobles, they all paid not for labor, but for access, reputation, and alignment. They paid those who held the position that money needed. Chasing wealth is emotional. Positioning yourself is mathematical. It requires discipline, observation, and cold patience. You must study where power flows, who controls decisions, what desires drive the people with influence, and then align yourself where those forces intersect. Do not shout for attention. Build so strategically that your silence becomes a signal of strength. The truth most men refuse to face is this: when you chase wealth, you confirm that you serve it. But when you create value that cannot be ignored, you reverse the hierarchy. Wealth begins to serve you. It seeks your permission, not your pursuit. Think of the difference between a merchant running after clients and a prince sitting in his palace while others bring him gold for favor. The prince does not chase. He creates demand through authority and scarcity. You too must become rare, become needed, become the one who controls access. Every move you make should raise your value in the marketplace of influence. Every decision should increase your gravity, the invisible pull that draws opportunity to you. When your skills, your knowledge, and your reputation become irreplaceable, money has no choice but to find its way to your door. The man who chases will always tire. The man who positions himself becomes untouchable. Wealth is not conquered by pursuit. It is seduced by power, patience, and precision. And those who understand this rule never run after fortune again, because they have learned to stand where fortune kneels first. The poor man chooses friends from comfort. The rich man chooses allies from purpose. The difference between the two is the difference between companionship and strategy. Emotion builds warmth, but interest builds empires. You will never rise to power if you continue to surround yourself with people who make you feel good, but bring you no closer to your goal. Wealth demands alliances, not attachments. Every powerful figure in history, every prince, banker, and merchant of influence understood this truth. Loyalty without benefit is fiction. Men do not stay loyal to you. They stay loyal to what they gain by standing beside you. And that is not cynicism, it is nature. The poor believe loyalty is born from kindness, but loyalty in the real world is born from mutual advantage. When I observed the courts of Florence, I noticed that those who rose fastest were never the strongest alone, but those who built networks where every man's ambition was connected to their own success. They made themselves the center of necessity. Their friends needed them, their rivals feared them, and even their enemies found it wiser to cooperate than to compete. That is how wealth and power grow, not through emotion, but through well-crafted dependence. You must stop seeking relationships built on shared struggle or sentiment. They will comfort you, but they will not elevate you. Build alliances where your presence adds value and theirs multiplies your reach. Friendship is a luxury, strategy is survival. When you enter a room, do not ask, "Who do I like?" Ask, "Who can shift my position closer to control?" That is how powerful men think. The emotional man trusts because he wants to believe. The strategic man verifies because he cannot afford illusion. Never assume loyalty is permanent. It exists only while the exchange remains profitable. The moment your ally stops benefiting from you, your alliance begins to dissolve. That is why the wise constantly renew value. They keep others invested in their presence. Understand this clearly. You are not betrayed when someone leaves you for better opportunity. You are betrayed when you failed to remain the better opportunity. The powerful anticipate shifts in interest and adapt before they occur. They do not beg for loyalty, they manufacture it through relevance. Even within the walls of the Medici, alliances shifted like sand. Those who survived were not the ones who swore eternal friendship, but those who made themselves too useful to abandon. You must learn to do the same. Make your presence indispensable in every alliance, not through emotion, but through calculated exchange. Most people stay broke because they cling to relationships that drain them in the name of loyalty. They mistake familiarity for value and emotion for trust. But the truth is, a circle of emotional comfort is often a cage of stagnation. You will know you are evolving when your relationships begin to feel less sentimental and more strategic. The powerful move in networks, where every connection feeds another. They build webs of aligned ambition, where everyone rises together because no one can rise alone. It is not manipulation, it is design. And if you wish to command wealth, you must design your circle with precision. Every ally must have something to gain and something to lose by standing with you. The poor man fears using people. The powerful man understands that life itself is a negotiation of use. You cannot escape it. You can only decide whether you are being used or using wisely. Emotion clouds that vision. Interest clarifies it. And until you build alliances rooted in clear mutual interest, you will remain surrounded by warmth but starved of progress. In every empire I have studied, from the courts of Florence to the kingdoms beyond, one truth stands above all. Power does not belong to those who speak the most, but to those who know when to remain silent. The poor man shares his plans to feel important. The powerful man conceals his plans to remain untouchable. Information is not a gift to be shared freely. It is a crown to be guarded, a weapon to be sharpened, a currency more valuable than gold. Most people lose power not because they lack ability, but because they cannot contain what they know. They crave validation. They reveal their strategies, their weaknesses, their dreams to those who will later use that knowledge against them. They call it openness, honesty, trust. But in truth, it is weakness disguised as virtue. A man who speaks everything he thinks has already surrendered control of the game. Understand this. Every piece of information you give away reshapes the power around you. What others know about you determines how they treat you. The more predictable you become, the easier you are to manipulate. Silence, mystery, and restraint are not forms of deceit, they are instruments of command. The world bows not to those who explain themselves, but to those who remain unreadable. In the courts of my time, princes who spoke too freely were often destroyed by their own words. The clever ones never revealed their full thoughts. They let others assume, speculate, and misjudge. Confusion became their shield. The less people understood them, the more cautious they became. And in caution they surrendered control. That is how the wise rule. Not through brute strength, but through informational advantage. You must learn to master silence the way a swordsman masters his blade. Not every truth deserves an audience. Not every idea deserves to be shared. When you guard your thoughts, you control their timing. When you control their timing, you control the outcome. The poor speak instantly. The powerful speak strategically. Every word is measured. Every revelation calculated. Observe how the rich and influential operate. They speak in layers. Their words reveal little yet imply much. They allow others to expose themselves first, to reveal their fears, their motives, their desires. Then, when all is known, they strike with precision. That is not arrogance. That is warfare in conversation. The one who knows more and says less always wins. The world is a marketplace of secrets. The one who trades information wisely builds networks of trust and leverage. The one who gives it away freely builds nothing but exposure. Even your silence can be a signal, a sign of control, a symbol of depth. Let others fill the silence with guesses. Their words reveal their minds, while your restraint conceals yours. The poor man overshares because he confuses attention with influence. He thinks being heard means being powerful, but true influence is built on mystery. The powerful are not loud, they are unreadable. People chase their approval, fear their silence, and obey their decisions because they never know what lies behind the calm expression. If you wish to become wealthy, You must learn to protect your ideas as if they were treasure. Do not announce your every move. Let results speak in your place. Let curiosity work for you. When others cannot predict your next step, they will begin to respect your presence and fear your potential. Information once revealed cannot be retrieved. A secret once spoken is power lost forever. The wise man speaks to achieve, not to impress. Every sentence must serve a purpose. Every revelation must earn a reward. The man who controls what others know about him controls their behavior. That is the essence of invisible power. And invisible power is the foundation of lasting wealth. The common man sees failure as the end. The Machiavellian mind sees it as an opening. Every fall, every betrayal, every loss contains a seed of opportunity, waiting to be claimed by those who can think beyond emotion. The difference between those who stay broken and those who rise stronger is not circumstance, it is interpretation. When most people suffer defeat, they waste their energy in complaint. But the powerful immediately ask one question: how can this be used? You must learn to turn every setback into strategy. Misfortune is not your enemy, it is your training ground. Every wound teaches precision, every loss reveals weakness, and every humiliation hides a doorway that only the patient can see. The masses react emotionally to pain, they drown in self-pity. The elite observe the damage with calm eyes and calculate how to rebuild with sharper edges. Understand this: the path to wealth is not smooth, it is carved through chaos. You will lose money, friends, time, and even your certainty. But each loss is an invitation to become less naive, more deliberate, and more dangerous in your thinking. A man who has never been crushed by failure is soft. A man who has, but learned to shape that pain into leverage, becomes untouchable. When the world rejects you, it hands you freedom. You are no longer bound by the illusion of acceptance. That is the moment true strategy begins. When no one believes in you, when everything collapses, you are given a rare gift: invisibility. The eyes that once watched you with expectation turn away, and in that quiet space, you can rebuild without interference. You can reinvent yourself in silence and re-emerge with power no one saw coming. In my time, princes who suffered defeat often became the most dangerous rulers later. Their losses stripped them of illusion, forced them to understand the real nature of loyalty, and taught them that control comes not from perfection, but from resilience. Every man who has risen to greatness has been betrayed, underestimated, or broken. It is not failure that defines you. It is what you extract from it. Do not let emotion blind you in moments of loss. Feel pain, yes, but never stop analyzing. The poor man feels and stops thinking. The wise man feels and then dissects. Every setback carries information. Who failed you? What system cracked? Which assumption was false? If you study these clues, you will find the design flaw in your approach and fix it before you attempt again. Wealth is not preserved by avoiding failure, but by mastering recovery. The most powerful minds see setbacks as rehearsals for dominance. Each collapse tests discipline. Each obstacle reveals what must be removed. You are not meant to move through life untouched. You are meant to sharpen your strategy through friction. The blade that never strikes metal remains dull forever. Remember this: the rich do not pray for easy paths. They prepare for unpredictable terrain. When others panic, they adapt. When others flee, they study. When others give up, they pivot. The powerful do not ask, "Why me?" They ask, "What now?" That single shift in perspective turns chaos into a map. If you wish to join the elite, you must stop seeing setbacks as interruptions and start seeing them as instruction. Every loss is an unpaid teacher. Every betrayal is a mirror revealing where you trusted too easily. Every failure is a message from the future, whispering what must be changed before your next rise. The world will test your ambition again and again. It will strip you of comfort, crush your ego, and challenge your will to continue. But the one who learns to turn pain into plan, loss into leverage, and chaos into design becomes unstoppable. The poor collapse under misfortune because they seek pity. The powerful rise from it because they seek control. And once you master this mindset, every downfall becomes the foundation of your next victory. You have listened carefully to the truths that the world's most powerful men have long understood, that wealth is not earned through virtue alone, that effort without strategy is wasted, that alliances, information, and setbacks are all tools to be mastered. Those who follow these rules rise, those who ignore them remain chained to mediocrity, forever chasing what they cannot command. Remember this: wealth is not a reward for the good, nor a prize for the diligent. It is the consequence of strategy, perception, and calculated action. The moment you stop chasing, stop trusting blindly, and start positioning yourself where power flows, you stop being a servant to fortune and begin controlling it. Do not fear being ruthless in thought, disciplined in action, and patient in strategy. The world respects results, not effort. It bows to those who understand the rules of leverage and follow them with precision. Every decision, every alliance, every silence, every setback can be transformed into a weapon for your advantage. To remain broke is a choice, the result of ignoring what has been revealed here. But to rise, to command, to secure wealth that endures, is a decision as deliberate as it is daring. You have been given the map. The question now is whether you will follow it, or remain a spectator in the theater of others' fortunes. The difference between the ordinary and the elite is not luck, nor talent, nor morality. It is the mastery of these rules, the mastery of strategy, the mastery of control, the mastery of yourself. Wealth will not come to the passive, but it will gravitate toward the prepared, the disciplined, and the relentless. The world rewards those who see clearly, act decisively, and adapt without hesitation. Remember, fortune is ever shifting, but those who master these principles move through it like a shadow over the land, unseen, inevitable, unstoppable. And now the stage is yours. Will you remain broke, bound by illusions, or will you rise, step by calculated step, to command the wealth that has always belonged to the strategic, the vigilant, and the daring? Wealth is not given. Wealth is claimed, and now you know exactly how.